So, welcome to the Counsellors Podcast. And if my memory serves me correctly, it's the first one for 2024. And the Counsellors Podcast is a space where we discuss counselling issues with regards to mental health and the various challenges that are going on around us in the world and also more personally at home. And today I'm delighted to welcome Karen Astle to the programme. So, Karen, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary.
How you doing? Okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
And in a moment, I'll ask Karen to introduce herself, give a bit more background. But Karen has been on the island of Mallorca for how long?
This will be our 6th year this year.
6 years. And prior to that, you was in Germany.
Germany for 3 years, yeah.
And your original place is
the northeast of England.
West England. So are you a Newcastle or Sunderland supporter?
Oh, Newcastle. If I was support anybody, it would be Newcastle.
It would be
definitely.
Newcastle, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, Karen, please let the listeners know a bit about your background, and then we'll speak more about your recent journey and your ongoing journey.
Okay. Well, my background is, obviously, I'm from the northeast of England, working class girl. Lived there until I would be, well, it was about 10 years ago. We actually moved to London, my husband and I. We stayed in London. I worked in London for a lot of years, probably 15 years commuting backwards and forwards. Husband got a job opportunity, which meant that we would move to Germany. Whilst I was in Germany, I was diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer, triple negative to anybody who knows about cancer out there. Not very nice, especially since I was in Germany at the time. So that kind of made it doubly difficult to deal with. And there was only me and my husband over there, so it was only my husband for support.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't good, Gary. It wasn't good. However, the German healthcare system was amazing. Vorsprung technique and all that, So it was a really, really well dealt with and very, very quick. Fortunately, after a year of treatment, I came out smiling. Everything was good. And within, I think, probably 8 months of that, my husband's work situation wasn't good in Germany. So he was putting feelers out and looking for work elsewhere. And a contact of his contacted him and said, "We have an opportunity in Mallorca." So he said, "Do you fancy moving to Mallorca?" Nah. Yeah. Do I fancy moving to Mallorca? I don't know. So I jumped at the chance, basically. Bit difficult. I was still having regular checkups with the cancer, and that kind of made me take a little bit of a more think harder about the decision.
Yeah.
Then rather than just go straight away, I was like, well, I don't know, really, when it comes to doctors and hospitals, it's an island, a Spanish island. I don't know Spanish at all. But we decided to do it anyway. We went. And as it turns out, things turned out really well. I ended up going to a private doctor who was Belgium, spoke excellent English. So all my checks were fine.
Good.
So for the first, I think, what was it, 4 years or 3.5 years, we were on the island. Things were going okay. I wasn't working because job opportunities for somebody like me who'd been a personal assistant, an executive assistant in London for dot amount of years, a long time, were very few and far between. Because I couldn't speak Spanish, basically.
Yeah.
I had German, but still, the job opportunities just weren't there. So I wasn't working. And I found that I was becoming more and more dependent on my husband. I had way too much time on my hands to think about what was going on with regards to the cancer, or what might be going on with regards to the cancer. And before I knew where I was, Gary, I'd turned into a raging hypochondriac.
Okay.
Is the easy way to put it, a simple way to put it.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It kind of crept up on me. Every time something happened, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, it's." If I had a headache, it was a brain tumor. If I had a sore throat, it was goodness knows what. It just went on and on and on and on. And it got to the point that my husband said he couldn't deal with it anymore. In a good way, he's been super supportive, but he just didn't know what else to do. He said, why don't you just get some help? I'm like, help for what? He's like, well, I can't deal with this anymore. He says, why don't you contact the cancer support people in Mallorca? I've been in contact with them before because I'd had a translator through them on a couple of occasions, and somebody had been to the doctors with me on 1 or 2 occasions. And so I knew who they were, but I said, no, they won't have anybody. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to do this anyway. It's not something that I don't do counselling. I don't need counselling. I can do this all by myself.
Was that based on your experience with other people or just your general concept of counselling?
Probably just my general concept of counselling, which, to be honest, I didn't know anything about at all. Bear in mind, I'm working class and I'm from the northeast of England. That should tell you everything.
Right, yeah.
We don't do counselling. We
No.
don't do meditation. We don't do yoga. We don't do any of that.
Yeah.
So
basically, get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's not broken or contagious, you
Yeah.
went to school, basically. And this is how I've been brought up. But the counselling thing to me, I mean, you know my thoughts on natural therapies and natural remedies. I just don't hold much to them at all. And I'm certainly not a happy clappy type of person. So when counselling was mentioned, I was like, oh, no, definitely not. But I was basically pushed and shoved towards doing it. He said, well, I can't do anything else. I've done as much as I can do. And I knew I was suffering. I knew every time we went somewhere, I would spoil it because I was ill. I wasn't really, it was all in my head, but
Right.
I was like, I made it a miserable experience for everybody. So I contacted cancer support thinking, well, I won't have anybody anyway, because I hadn't actually seen anything regarding counselling at all. I just contacted Rebecca at CSG, and she came straight back to me. She said, I can put you in touch with Gary at the Gap Counselling. I was like, oh.
There is someone.
Oh, right, okay. And I mean, I said at the time, I said, I'm happy to pay for it. She said, no, it's part of the service that we provide. So and the rest is history, Gary. We had a call, I believe, which actually, if I'm honest with you, I can't actually remember. I think I was in a little tunnel, and I can't remember having that call. But
I
know
do still remember that call.
Yeah. And then I came up to Bendenat, and we had our first meeting. And then I think following on from that, I'm still having counselling sessions now. Not regular ones like before, but every once in a while, because I do find them helpful. But it's been 18 months plus now, nearly 2 years, in fact. So yeah, and that's where I find myself today on the counselling journey.
So you shared you being, background in Germany, being diagnosed with cancer, moving to Mallorca, and then reaching out for support. So your husband said, right, you do need help. I cannot support you in the help that you need. And being resistant, should we say, to put it politely, to reluctant to go to counselling. And I remember our first meeting, I was thinking, go through your mind, why am I here? Why am I here? See, which is a story for many people. Nobody wakes up and said, yeah, I want to go to counselling. You said you grew up in the northeast, you get on with it unless it's really severe.
Yeah.
And now you're a counsellor.
Yes, here I am. It certainly wasn't something I thought I would ever do. Nothing like I would ever do,
So please share, because I'm sure people will be curious to how for somebody who's at the other end, don't want to go counselling, I can do this on my own with a very serious illness, to now 180 degrees being a counsellor.
Well, I think when I had cancer and I got through it all, and it wasn't as bad as I had expected or people had told me that it would be, and I had very intensive treatment as well, and I got through it all virtually unscathed, and all in one piece as well, which is a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But I did. And when I got through it, Gary, I got to the end and I thought, I want to tell everybody about this. I want to shout it from the rooftops. I want to tell everybody how fantastic this is. So that was always in the back of my mind somewhere. And then obviously I started my counselling with you, and I found that it helped. initially, if you remember, I think we were probably about 4 or 5 sessions in, and I said, I really appreciate this, and it's a great platform for me to talk and everything, but all these questions you're asking me, how is that helping me with my hypochondria?
I do remember, yeah.
So, thinking that was the issue, when in fact, in reality, no, it goes an awful lot deeper than what's happening at that time. So me thinking I'm going for that, I'm not. I'm actually seeing you for various other things that have been going on. And that's what you did. That's what you brought that all out. And as it was happening, now as we were having our counselling sessions, it was just getting easier and easier and easier. And I was like, yeah, this really works. This is just like, and my husband would say, this is great. You're like a different person. It didn't happen overnight. It probably took, I'd say, 6 months before I saw a real benefit of regular sessions. But at each session, I just found it so easy to talk. I talk a lot. It's so easy to talk and to offload, even if that's what all you do is just offload. And I remember, about a year and a bit ago, you saying to me, have you ever considered being a counsellor? And I said, no. And you actually mentioned about studying and things. What do you think about studying? And I'm thinking, I haven't studied since I was like 18 years old, so it's a long time ago since I actually studied. So I thought, but I remember, it didn't take too long. And I thought, this would be a great platform for me to shout that message that I've been thinking about the cancer, to be able to help people. And I discovered on the journey with you that I was actually had quite a lot of empathy for people. And I never, honestly, before we started, never would have thought that was the case ever. I didn't know it was part of my makeup at all.
So the therapy brought it out in you.
Yeah.
You obviously did have it. It was just giving you the opportunity to show
Maybe
it.
I hid it.
Yeah.
Maybe I hid it well, I don't know. But yeah, it kind of gave me that opportunity to show it. And you made me realize that, yes, I was actually, an empath. And I had a story to tell. And I actually believed in the process as well. So that helps. If you believe in something, if you know that it's going to work, if you know the good that it'll do.
Yeah.
That also, that for me, that was like, oh, okay. Because I'm not a salesperson. So if I don't believe in something, I can't push it. So I said, yes, okay. So then you told me about the course that you were doing. Would I be interested? Yeah, absolutely. And I started doing the level 3 training course with you and a group of other ladies. Did that, started off very, not confident at all, because it's a lot more academic than I have done for a very long time, since school, in fact. So I was very, very nervous. And all I wanted to do was get passes on my essay. So in the first one, I did the first essay and I got a high pass. I thought that was amazing, because at least I passed. I was super happy. But then as it went on, it got easier and easier once I understood the process better. Got through the course. Passed it way, way better than I thought I would. And the amazing thing is, after I did the course, I went straight to work, working with Gary. And the rest is history, and that's where I am today, really. I'm actually doing level 4 now, which is just more words for your essay.
Slightly more than that, but
yeah. And it's learning all the time, really, find it super interesting. I never thought I'd go back to study either, because it's not me at all. I'm just like the least academic person you're ever likely to meet, to be honest. That's where I am currently.
So a remarkable journey, and it's not a common one. Particularly the reason why you sought counselling and the illness that you overcame, thankfully. Most people just run away thinking, right, I don't want to even think about counselling because that will remind me of my illness.
Yeah,
So for
yeah.
you, Karen, the obvious question, the natural question, why? You've given us a story, understand the journey, but why counselling?
That's a hard question. Why counselling? Well, as I say, it's not something that I would have ever seen myself doing.
Yeah,
Um, so why? Because I can help people, because I can use my knowledge, I can use what I've learned to actually show people that they don't have to do things by themselves. And
right.
I think that's the main thing, that they don't
Yeah,
have to actually do stuff by themselves. And a lot of people, that's what they think automatically, you know. And as I've gone through as well, it's kind of to try and remove the stigma that's around mental health, because there's still such a big stigma, a huge stigma. I'd say more so with men than women. Um,
yes, I'm in
but even
agreement.
with, yeah, but even women struggle
Yeah,
to reach out and get the help that they need. I think people imagine it's completely different to what it is. I think you have this. Well, I did. I have this image of what counselling is, what therapy is, and it's not. It's just it literally is just like a chat with somebody that doesn't have any judgment, that isn't going to judge you. And I like that as well. I like the fact that people can come and tell you their deepest, darkest secrets
yeah,
in safety.
yeah.
So
Safety has been
yes, yeah.
the key condition. And for you, Karen, in your experience as a patient, did you find it easy speaking to a stranger, or was it something you worked towards, or became more comfortable for each
Uh,
session?
no, I found it really easy. I
Okay.
found never shut up if I remember rightly. Yeah, I found it really easy, but I think a lot of that as well, Gary, depends on whether the person that you're talking to, your counsellor, your therapist, is a good fit. Because if it's not, then it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah,
Um, and sometimes people struggle to talk. They are embarrassed, or they don't want to. But my view was, well, you don't know who I am. You've never met me
yeah,
before. And when I very first met you, Gary, I thought you're probably never going to meet me again either. You know what I mean? That's what
yeah,
was going
yeah,
through my head.
yeah,
So here I am, and I have no issues with talking about myself. I'm an open book. Um, I always have been. Um, but it's actually therapeutic in itself to just be able to talk.
yeah.
So yeah, for me it
And
was easy.
good. And answer the question, because a lot of people you haven't been in a counselling room with, this could be a first time for everyone if you do go on that journey. It is that thought of speaking to a stranger and but not
Yeah,
possibly fully appreciating it. That is so liberating because, as you said, there shouldn't be any judgment. There's
yeah,
no emotional attachment. There's no bias or prejudice. It should be okay. You're free to speak, and
yeah.
as you mentioned, safety. It's a safe space. So now, as a counsellor, and as you hinted, you're now working with clients. How do you create that space for your clients? Because people will be listening to you, Karen, your journey, will be really fascinated. They'll be thinking, right, so who's Karen now, the counsellor? How does she conduct herself?
Well, initially, when I first meet a client, I tell them just a little bit about myself, and it's just because what you don't want to do is make it about you. You need to be making it about them and not you. So you need to be careful to keep it quite. And for me, that's quite difficult, as I say, because I to talk. So you need to keep it quite condensed. But just give me a little bit of background. What I've found is clients I've worked with who have either had relatives or themselves have gone through anything cancer related, really appreciate the fact that I've been through it myself. So they know that I understand that, that I can understand a little bit of what they're going through. So yeah, I introduce myself. And then I've got a very relaxed, very laid back, friendly, I think, um, attitude towards them. You know, tell them that they can tell me anything, they're not going to shock me. Try and keep things as light as I possibly can.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's times when the subject matter doesn't lend itself to that, but you know that, you know, you can sense that. But just try and make people feel as relaxed as possible. Um, just by saying, feel free to, if you just want to sit there and be quiet, you can. If you don't want to say anything, that's fine, but tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's how we generally start.
And it's definitely working, because the reviews that you shared with me with your current and former clients, and the common themes were felt relaxed, comfortable, non-judgmental, easy to talk to, and all the key ingredients that you'd want from a counselling session or an environment of that nature, but not necessarily sure if it's realistic or available, or whether you will receive that. That yours, the clients have, that's their experience with you. And it's easy to talk to, Karen. If I was to sum it up, you're easy to talk to. And you must be doing very well, because they're not saying Karen talks too much.
I need to shut Karen up. Yeah.
So, Karen, if people will be listening to this on our platforms, on Karen Supports Mallorca, and then I'm sure there'll be Karens out there in regards to either, I don't do counselling, it's not going to work, but suffering with a serious problem or serious illness, or the other person like, I want to, but I'm not sure, or the person who's almost there to reach out. What would you say to those individuals?
Oh, wow. Just do it. Just go for it. What have you got to lose? Just try it. Try once. Come for an introductory meeting. You don't have to pay anything. It's free. Come and say hi. Just come and say what you think. Look at these people who are doing better, or have now got the tools to deal with the things that they're going through, because they had counselling. If they hadn't had that counselling, they wouldn't be moving forward. They'd just be static, same as I would have been. And goodness knows what state I'd have been in now. It's a bit like the cancer. It's very like the cancer, actually, Gary. When I say I want to shout it from the rooftops, actually, this is great. You can get through it, and you can have a normal life. And look, I've got my hair back, and things like that. And look, I can do the things I used to do. And I realise that it's not the same for everybody. Everybody is different. But it's the same with the counselling. Can't do it. There shouldn't be a stigma. I mean, there's less of a stigma now around mental health than there used to be, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And people think they don't need it and that they can manage. And when you think as well that a person who is suffering mentally from whatever, it's not just themselves that get affected, it's people around them that get affected as well. Have a think on that. It's kind of, you're helping not just yourself, but you're helping everybody else. You're helping your partner, you're helping your family. So that's another way to look at it as well. But yeah, my main advice would be just go for it. What have you got to lose? You haven't got anything to lose. You can only, if you don't like it, you don't have to come back. There's nobody holding a gun to your head, as I say.
And briefly, Karen, how does it work, the process? Do they speak with you first? Do they make an appointment? They've got some knowledge?
Okay. Well, first of all, there's a telephone call, or I think it's advisable, if you can, to do a video call so the person can actually see your face if they agree. So you would ask the client first, what's the best way to contact you? That would be a brief chat. And you'd find out why they want counselling. You'd explain to them what counselling involves, just briefly how long, etc., etc. Then we would arrange an introductory visit, which is probably about an hour and a half, where they get to talk about what it is that they're coming to you for in more detail and in a private space, basically. Once you've had that, then they can decide if they want to come back, if it's something that they want to progress with. And we book sessions after that. It's usually once a week for 50 to 60 minutes. You could do once a fortnight. It depends on the issue, I think, how frequently you would actually see somebody.
Sure.
But you get all that laid down, basically. You get all the times and the appointments laid out before they leave on their first meeting. And then it just goes from there.
Hey, great, thank you. And Obviously, you did well to compress how many years from the cancer to counselling in the space of 30
Trying to keep
minutes.
it brief.
You did really well. And
Yeah,
I,
a lot of years now. Yeah,
many important nuggets information that you've shared your own personal experience as a client, as a counselor, the transformation, the challenges and the realities. You're not saying yes, you're all together. You recognize the journey and where people are at. And the key message that I've heard from you today, Karen, and I really want the listeners to take this on board, is that you don't have to do this alone. And that
no.
was your challenge. You wanted to do it alone, but no, but until your
Mm.
husband said, no, come on, you do need help. And then realizing later, yeah, the benefits. And if we could get people to recognize that earlier, that you don't have to do this alone. And that's,
Yeah,
you know, a big part
exactly.
of your why as well, why you're doing this, to
Yeah,
shout it from the rooftops, to help people and say, come on, let's do this together.
yeah,
And what
absolutely.
spoke to me also, you saying, think about the people it will affect around you, because it's not just you.
Mm. No, it isn't.
And often we just have that mindset which just starts with, yeah, okay, how about if I'm not going, what impact is having on the people around me?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's something I think that people who are going through these things don't really think about,
Yeah.
because you're so deep in your own, problems and your own issues.
Yeah.
You don't realise what effect it has on those around you. So that's something to definitely think about. And as I said, just go for it, just do it. It's not going to hurt.
Well, Karen, and for those of you listening, I can personally vouch for her. She was a great, challenging client. She was a great, challenging student. And I'm sure she'll be a great, challenging counsellor as well to help you move forward. So, yeah, you've got my full endorsement. And if anybody wants to have more information from a referral point of view, then feel free to contact me via the normal social platforms. Otherwise, you can reach Karen directly through Rachael, my PA, or directly through Can Supports Mallorca. And yeah, as she said, just do it. Just do it for those of you in need. Well done, Karen, and continue on your journey.
Thank you. And it's down to you, Gary. Thanks so much.
You're more than welcome.